Greetings and welcome to the Astronomy Picture of the Day podcast. Today's picture for August 18th of 2025 is titled NGC 1309, a useful spiral galaxy. So what do we see here? Well, the spiral galaxy, as you might guess, known by its catalog designation of NGC 1309. Relatively small spiral galaxy, about a third the size of our own Milky Way, but still very important. Now we can see the standard things we're used to when we're looking at a spiral galaxy. Here we're looking face down on it. We're seeing the entire spiral structure laid out before us, and we can see those spiral arms swirling out from the center with the distinct blue glow of the hot stars that have formed within those spiral arms. So when stars form, the biggest and brightest stars form first. Those are the hottest stars, and they emit primarily blue light. Actually, they emit more ultraviolet light, but since our eyes can't see ultraviolet light, they appear as a bluish color to us. And that highlights the spiral arms, and they highlight those arms specifically because they never leave the spiral arms. They don't live long enough to make even a complete orbit around the galaxy. So they are born and die within those spiral arms. Now, why do we call this a useful spiral galaxy? What makes it more useful than others? And that's because there are multiple ways to determine the distance to this galaxy, which allows to help us to calibrate the overall structure and size of the universe. So we use two different methods here. It's actually had a couple of supernovae, and a certain supernova known as a type 1a is very useful for calibrating the distance to a galaxy. That's because every type 1a supernova is exactly the same type of star that exploded, exactly the same mass, and therefore should achieve the same brightness. And that allows us to then determine the distance by determining how bright it appears versus how bright it should be, and that allows us to determine the distance to this galaxy. Another method is the Cepheid variables that are present here. Cepheid variables have a period luminosity relationship. And this was found by Henrietta Leavitt over 100 years ago in her calibrations and measurements of these stars. And again, it allows us then, by looking at the star and just measuring its period of variation, to then be able to determine its brightness and therefore its distance. Now, why does it matter if we already have another way of determining the distance? Well, it allows us to calibrate the two systems. Now, instead of just having a single measurement, we have multiple measurements of the distance to this galaxy, and that allows us to get a much more accurate value than would otherwise be able to be obtained. So by making multiple distance measurements, we can help calibrate our overall distance scale and learn more about the expansion of the universe. Now, as you look around this image, you'll also note there's a lot of other galaxies here. In fact, nearly everything you're looking at in this is another galaxy. We do see several stars here, and you can see one prominently at the very top of the image with the diffraction pattern going through it. So the cross pattern going through it signifies it as a star or a point source of light. You might find a few others scattered around as well, a little fainter. But overall, most things that you're seeing in this are actually distant galaxies out well beyond the 100 million light-year distance for NGC 1309. So that was our picture of the day for August 18th of 2025. It was titled NGC 1309, a useful spiral galaxy. We'll be back again tomorrow for the next picture. So until then, have a great day, everyone, and I will see you in class.